What's up, guys? Welcome back to Lone Star College Football. Today, we're going to be looking at an article that ESPN posted, and we just wanted to get on here and give our takes about it. The article we're looking at is the top 20 teams that can make the college football playoff. Um, we talked about this a little bit throughout the day, and we just really didn't think that it made too much sense to us as far as how some teams are on here, but yet they're not ranked in the top 25. And some of the odds that they give or the percentages, it just doesn't make any sense to us. You want to go ahead and start off with the first one?
Yeah, I can get into number one. We just chose, we're actually just going to do the ones on our Big Six boards. For those of you who don't know, that's Texas and Baylor, and then one school from each of the other Power Five conferences, which include Michigan, LSU, Miami, and Oregon. So starting off from top to bottom, the team in our Big Six with the best odds to make it to the college football playoffs is Michigan. Out of the 20 on the list, they came in at number 6, with a 17.6% chance to make the playoffs and a 1.5% chance to take home a natty. Now, their toughest game is going to be against Ohio State, which is going to be a tough game for them to get through. They beat Ohio State last year, which is the first time in the Jim Harbaugh era, and I think the first time in like the last decade. So them doing that again is going to be kind of difficult. The committee does not like their non-con games. This says they're too weak. I don't have them pulled up right now. I can get them real quick. I'll go ahead and move on. But it says that they do like their October 1st game against Iowa, which I thought was kind of interesting because last year Michigan played Iowa and beat them like 42-3. So it's kind of weird they were talking about their non-con games being too weak, but it's describing their interest in that game against Iowa when they just blew Iowa out of the water last season. I've got their non-con games pulled up. It's Colorado State, Hawaii, and UConn. So yeah, it's pretty weak. Really, it's just going to be that Ohio State game that's going to keep them in the running, and that Michigan State game, it looks like, should also be a pretty good one.
Yeah, I mean, this one makes a lot of sense to me. It makes almost the most sense out of some of the teams that are below like the top 10. I think them being in the Big Ten helps for sure. It's just always going to be a good look for them. And I think the only reason that the committee will like that matchup at Iowa State, or not Iowa State, but Iowa, is because that at that stadium, it's very unforgiving towards Michigan. They lost the last 4 in a row whenever they played them away. Man,
Yeah.
it's some of these teams make sense, but then there's just so many that don't. And I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see Michigan making the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't get to look at the full list because I don't have ESPN Plus, so I don't know what the 5 teams ahead of Michigan were. I could assume Ohio State is 1, Bama, Georgia. Other than that, they've probably got Clemson too high. Maybe Utah was on that list as well. But you want to go ahead and get into number? Go ahead.
You had the top 3 right. It's Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, and then it's Clemson, and then Notre Dame.
Yeah, so I don't really. So Michigan, so they're giving Michigan higher odds. No, they're not. Ohio State was on that list. I was about to say, they better not be giving
Ohio
Michigan
State's
better
number
odds
1.
than. Cool.
I think those was 88%.
Do you want to take into 2, or you want me to take that?
I'll go ahead and let you take that one. Special reasons.
I like number 2. Although I'm gonna go ahead and say it's wrong. So for number 2 on our list, it's actually number 7 on ESPN's list. It's the University of Texas with a 17.4% chance to make the playoffs and a 1.6% chance to win a natty. So for those of you following along, they have a 0.2% less chance than Michigan to make the playoffs, but a 0.1% more chance to win the playoffs. So that's why we're kind of talking about this list. It doesn't make sense. It also doesn't make sense because there's other teams below Texas Uh, but in the ESPN AP poll, they're above Texas. So I'm not entirely sure how this list was put together. Probably just
Yeah,
a computer running numbers.
yeah, it's at the top of it, and I believe it is the all-state playoff predictor. So it's just like computer generated, but even then, like the numbers don't make sense, even with it being computer
Yeah,
generated. I just don't understand them. I guess I don't know if that's something that we just don't get, and we just have a lack of knowledge of, or if it's something that
yeah.
everybody's thinking.
Well, computers are not nice to Texas generally. In 2008, Texas kind of got screwed out of a national championship appearance. It came between Florida, Oklahoma, and Texas. Texas and Oklahoma played in the season. Texas won. The computer ended up choosing Oklahoma to go because Texas had a different loss to a pretty good Tech team that year. Uh, that was the Michael Crabtree catch. It was a rough game. All right. Anyways, on Texas, obviously Alabama is going to be our toughest game of the season.
Yeah.
The computer did not like our defense
Mm.
last year, and I don't blame them. Our defense last year for the run game was number 114 out of 131. So that's terrible. What the computer did say would be weighted in our favor is if we were able to win a Big 12 title, and then it kind of alluded to the question: what would it choose? The committee choose if we had an 11-1 Texas with one loss to Bama and a Big 12 title over a 11-1 Notre Dame, who I think they start the season off with Ohio State this year.
Yeah.
So if they only had one loss but no conference title, who would the committee pick? Uh, Personally, I think they would choose Texas, not necessarily because they should, but I'm looking at viewership. You're If you get Texas, you get such a large fan base. And Notre Dame has a large fan base as well. But if you get Texas, it'll be their first year making it. I don't think we even have to worry about that. 17.4% chance to make it. You can chalk that up to a big fat zero. And I just don't see that this year.
So much confidence is coming with that. And
I
the
have
only
I have confidence. It's quiet confidence. I don't want to sound too confident. I don't know if I have any confidence in a playoff. I think we could make a Big 12 game.
yeah, true. I I think y'all have really good odds to make the Big 12 game. I think that y'all could definitely win the Big 12. I don't like that it's how it's reading. It's acting like you can only lose to Alabama. That's it. Like you have to go 11-1 is how I'm taking how they have it. But I mean, it's,
Probably
it's
pretty accurate. You really have to be either Alabama or Georgia right now to have two losses and make it though.
so yeah, we love the SEC bias.
I'll like
Um,
it in a couple years when we're there.
yeah, I'm sure you will. But yeah. So the next team on our list is Miami, and according to ESPN, they are number 9, right between Texas or right under Texas and Oklahoma. Um, they give them an 8.8% chance to make it to the playoffs and a 0.5% chance to win the national title. Which that drop off is crazy because even going from Texas to Oklahoma, it goes from 17.4 to 11.3 and then drops to 8.8 right there.
Which
They're
doesn't make
saying,
sense. It doesn't make
yeah,
sense because the odds makers right now say Oklahoma has the best chance to win the Big 12. So
exactly.
it doesn't make sense. That's why we're talking
And
about it though, because it doesn't make sense.
man, I was so heated whenever I read this earlier today. It was so bad. But
ESPN needs to hire us with the right money and equipment. These videos would be a lot better.
Miami's toughest test, according to ESPN, is September 17th at Texas A&M. Man, I don't see A&M winning that game personally. I think Miami's going to be a really good team. Um, I don't. It's This whole thing is crazy. What the committee will like was road wins. They're gonna have to go to A&M, at Virginia Tech, and at Clemson this year. Man, Clemson could be a crazy away game. I'm not sure about Virginia Tech, but A&M can also be a crazy away game. Like they're always packed out. And what the committee won't like, which makes sense to me, is an 0-2 record against the Aggies and Clemson, which I think makes the most sense. Because if you drop 2 games, unless you're Bama or
Mhm.
Georgia, like you said,
Yeah.
you're not making the playoffs. That's just that. Even if you win the ACC championship, you're not going to win. I mean, you're not
No.
going to make it. I mean,
I
look at
mean,
Baylor.
right. I think maybe the Big Ten champion could have 2 losses and maybe still figure out a way to get into the playoffs. I don't think Clemson will lose both those games, or not Clemson. I don't think Miami will lose both those games against A&M and Clemson. I kind of think they'll beat A&M.
I think
Clemson's going
if
to
they
be
do
tough.
lose one,
I
it's going to
think
be
that,
Clemson.
yeah, and I think if really it comes down, I think the defense is going to be too much for Clemson's offense,
Yeah.
but I don't know if their offense is going to be able to score against Clemson's defense. So it might, it might be a really high scoring game, might be a really low scoring game.
I mean, what we got to
But
think
I would
though is that
probably, I'd pick,
Clemson doesn't have their defensive coordinator anymore.
and I would something like that. I expect a drop off for most teams. There'd be a large drop off. I think for a team like Clemson, they have so much roster talent and depth. There'll be a drop off. How much? I wouldn't expect it to be a whole lot. Uh,
Okay.
I'll lead us in to number 4. Do you have something else for that? Did you have
No,
something? Oh, okay.
no.
And the number 4 is LSU. They have LSU ranked as number 12. They give them a 3.2% chance to make the playoffs and a 0.2% chance to win the playoffs. Their biggest game is Alabama, as it is with most teams in the SEC. The committee is concerned about there being no improvement on the defensive front. They gave up 30.2 points per game last year and 427 yards per game over the past 2 seasons. So that's 2 back-to-back bad years. Mind you, if they had gone 3 years back, those numbers wouldn't look as bad because 3 years ago LSU was lifting up that national championship trophy.
Exactly.
LSU has a tough schedule. They have to play Bama at home and then follow that up with a road game to Arkansas. If they were able to pull those 2 games out, then I would imagine they were winning the rest of their games, because if they could win those, they could probably win every game on their schedule. I don't
Mm-hmm.
see that. I'd put money that LSU does not make the playoffs.
Can I just throw out there one thing? So the last 2 teams we talked about, Miami and LSU, is a 7-5 Miami team and a 6-7 LSU team. I'm just
And a
gonna go
five
ahead.
and seven Texas team.
Yeah, exactly. I
You didn't have to
mean,
say it. I'll say it.
yeah, I wasn't going to. I didn't want to bring up any bad
No,
memories
hey, I
for you,
appreciate that.
but I'm I'm just gonna save that for the end. I'm just gonna save that one for the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. We said it from the beginning. It doesn't make sense.
Like, where are they getting these?
Go ahead and take us into number 5.
Okay, so number 5 on our list is actually Texas A&M. Figured since this is another Texas team, we'd go ahead and throw that in there. And we just dropped a podcast on Texas A&M talking about how we think, or how Christian thinks they're going to do this season.
Yeah.
So go check that out if you haven't.
There's some twist in there at the end. As I was making the video, I had already planned out what I thought, and while I'm making it, I was talking, convinced myself something different. So there's a little bit of a twist at the end.
Okay.
Just a little.
Well, yeah, if y'all haven't checked that one out yet, go ahead and go back and check that one out. That one was posted Thursday night. I think it finally posted around like 9:30.
Yeah, something like that.
But anyways, back to Texas A&M. Last year the record was 8-4, as it always is. Chance to make the playoffs is 2%, and chance to win the national championship is 0.1%. I don't see how they're thrown on here. I don't.
Here's the thing: is I
Anyway,
can see it. I mean, I can see A&M making the playoffs. I think they have a better than a 2% chance. I think they should have a better chance than Texas. LSU, maybe Miami, but I don't understand the numbers. And they also mentioned that A&M's strength of schedule is the number 6 strength of schedule in the country, because
Yep.
then they listed that they play Miami, Arkansas, and Alabama,
But
but
what they don't
they
want to talk
also
about is their FCS freaking non-con games that
right
they have
they
every
play
year.
Sam Houston, Appalachian State, and in UMass, and then their other non-con is obviously that Miami game. So
The Miami makes up for it, but not
those
up
they'll
for
get three
three
free wins.
FCS teams as they do every year. I mean, I'm not going to say Baylor doesn't because we definitely do. Besides
I think
BYU,
I think App State might be a Group of Five school.
probably.
It might be. I don't know for sure.
But anyways, toughest test for Texas A&M is October 8th at Alabama. That is a fat L. Put that one on the record. And whoever's editing, do not cut that out. Dude, Nick Saban is coming for Jimbo Fisher's throat. Come
Yep.
October 8th, your Jimbo Fisher's gonna want to get fired because he's just gonna get embarrassed bad.
I
And
hate I hate that game's on October 8th, because that's the Texas OU game. I'm really hoping College Game Day will be in at the Cowboys Stadium for that. But I figured they'll end up with the Bama and A&M rematch.
yeah, they'll be down there probably. I mean, they'd kind of be stupid not to, but then again, I'd rather see them at Oklahoma and Texas. The committee does like their, like Christian said, number 6 strength schedule. It's it literally says the Aggies get a hall pass from Sam Houston and UMass, but they didn't want to. They didn't mention Appalachian State on here for some reason.
Yeah,
Um, they're not going to be Arkansas. They're not going to be Mississippi State. They're not going to be Ole Miss, and they're not. They probably won't beat LSU. Like I say all that, but then again, they could turn around and just prove me wrong. Um, but the committee does not like the September 17th home loss to Miami. It is the one opportunity in the non-conference lineup to impress the selection committee with a Power 5 win. They have one Power 5 team, and everybody wonders how they go 8-4. Maybe because half of their wins are against weak teams. They have 4 non-conference games, if I'm not wrong.
yeah. The SEC has 4 non-con and 8 conference games.
So half of their wins that they get every year, because more times than not, they're hovering around 7-5,
Yeah,
maybe 9-3
8
at
and
best.
4. Yeah, so
Like,
that range.
and we wonder why, because half of their wins come from these non-con games because they don't schedule anybody.
Right. So
We've
their argument is that since their conference schedule is so tough, that they schedule those kind of games to try to balance out the schedule. And then if you talk to them, I'm telling you, this would say, go ahead, talk to an Aggie. He's gonna say, "Oh, y'all play Kansas. That's basically an FCS." No, they're not. Okay, Kansas is a really fine football institution.
I'd
Thank you.
I'd say they're about average. I mean, I think they're
Yeah,
on the come up.
yeah. Me too. Me too. Go Jayhawks.
And at the bottom of this, what will the committee not like is if they can't beat Miami at home, how are they going to beat Alabama on the road? Which is really what we just talked about. It's not going to happen.
It's
I see.
not, and they're not gonna beat. They're not. I really don't think they're gonna beat Arkansas either.
I don't know. Arkansas is
I
a
don't want to
tough
get
team.
in. I don't want to get into too many of what I think they'll do. Y'all need to go check out that video that just got posted.
Yep.
This will go up tomorrow. So yesterday, I posted it yesterday.
And
But
man, even just scrolling down to look at some of our bottom teams that aren't even on this list, our next two teams we're about to talk about. 11-3 Pitt. Yeah, they had a good record last year. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have a receiver. Like, what is going to give them that 1.3% chance?
yeah, they lost the Biletnikoff winning receiver. They lost the coach, the not the head coach, but their receivers coach, Brendan Marion, is now the receivers coach for Texas. So that's another loss for them as well. I think Pitt's gonna have a tough season.
Okay. So
Uh,
just gonna go ahead and throw this out there. The bottom team on this list is Cincinnati. 13-1, 1% chance to make the playoffs, less than 0.1% chance to win the national championship. I
that's
don't
number
think that.
20.
Yeah, that's number 20.
Hmm.
It's they have to go undefeated. Their toughest test at Arkansas. I'm just throwing this out there because they were a Group of 5 team from last year. Um, it's they can't lose if they want to have a chance,
No. If they
which
had
makes
just
sense.
dropped one game last year, Baylor would have made the playoffs.
We think
Nah, they would have. They would have.
until they put us up against Notre Dame, trying to figure out who gets in.
I'll lead us into the number 6 team. So the actual list stopped at 20, but there was more, right? You were able to find more, right?
Yeah, it
That's
was just the
correct.
percentages. It wasn't talking anything about what the committee will like or anything like that.
Right. So I wrote up my own kind of note, just barely for it. So number 21 technically would have been Oregon, which is our team pick from the Pac-12. They gave them a 0.9% chance to make the playoffs and a 0.1% chance to win the national championship. I'll say we had a listener hit us up and tell us something because we didn't know who the quarterback for Oregon was. It is Bo Nix, QB transfer from Auburn. I remember listening to about Auburn a little bit last year. He had a lot of troubles playing on the road. Hopefully, a new environment, new coaching. I'd probably be more optimistic if they still had Mario Cristobal, but we'll see how it could go over there in Oregon. I always thought Bo Nix was a decent quarterback. Whenever they play at home, probably be okay. They will play at home against BYU and Utah, which is 2 of their
Mm-hmm.
ranked matches. They got 3 ranked teams right now. They have to play week 1 against Georgia at Georgia. So
Yeah,
that's a loss.
me and him talked
I,
about that one.
I didn't even realize that there was a good game like that right off the bat in week 1.
Yeah,
So happy to
it's
see
at
that.
Mercedes Benz, by the way.
Y'all check out our locks pod. That'll definitely be on our locks pod coming up for week 1.
Mm-hmm.
So they play at Georgia, number 3 in the nation. Baylor or Oregon's currently ranked number 11. Then they go into week 3 against BYU, and what looks to be week 12 against number 7 Utah. I would expect Oregon to probably beat BYU. I don't think they'll beat Georgia. I don't think they'll beat Utah. Utah is my favorite right now to win the Pac-12. So Bo Nix can have a good season. I don't think he has to go to the draft after this year, so I'd expect him to come back for another season, and then maybe we'll see Oregon make a deep run.
Okay, so I'm gonna take it to our worst favorite team, according to this. So Baylor
But
is actually the 22nd best odds to make it to the playoffs, with a whopping 0.1% chance to make it to the playoffs, and a fat 0% chance to win the national championship. Do I think personally we will win the national championship? No. But to just not even give us a single percent
yeah,
is just plain out disrespectful after going 12-2 and looking at all these teams above us on the list, dude, that are 6-7, dude, or 6-6, 5-7, whatever. It's so frustrating. This is what I was going on and on about earlier today. Whenever it first dropped, man, it makes no sense. Because how are you going to have the
yeah,
number 10 ranked team, AP and coaches poll, surrounded by these teams that you gave almost 10% chance to make it to the playoffs? Like Oklahoma's number 9 in both of these, and they had 11%. It makes no
yeah.
sense. Texas isn't even ranked on
Yeah,
either one of
Texas
these.
is
Well,
like technically number 27 in the country,
yeah,
and they
second
gave
team
us a
out behind
ranking.
Tennessee.
I
Coaches
think,
polled the number 18 with one first place vote.
yeah, I think what's interesting is if I had to put these 7 teams in my own order, I'd probably go Michigan, A&M, Texas, no, Michigan, A&M, Baylor, Texas, Oregon, LSU. You could swap LSU and Oregon possibly.
I would put Miami over LSU.
I don't even think I said Miami.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, so Michigan, A&M. I think A&M has a chance. Baylor, Miami, and then Texas. Doesn't even matter. The bottom three ain't making it. Really,
And
none of these teams are probably, in my opinion, none of these teams are going to make it. Maybe Michigan, maybe Baylor, because I think those are the only, maybe Texas, because I think those are the only three
see,
teams that have the chance at winning their conference. That's the problem.
that's
Is
what I was about to say.
LSU will not win that conference. Miami will not win that conference. A&M will not win that conference. Oregon's not going to win it. So technically, I don't think Michigan will win it either. So maybe Texas or Baylor can sneak their way into
See,
a
that's what I was
playoff.
about
I
to
don't
say.
know.
If I put these in order the way I think is going to happen, or how I think it could happen, I would say Baylor, Texas, or no, Michigan, Baylor, Texas, and then I don't even know where I'd go. Maybe Oregon, because it's going to be Oregon and Utah playing for the Pac-12 championship, but neither one of them are going to be
I
undefeated.
wouldn't. I wouldn't count USC out. I
I'm
don't
just
think
going.
USC will win it, but I wouldn't count them out. I'd probably
I'm
put
just
Miami.
going.
I'd put Miami over Oregon because I think Miami, if they get a good game against Clemson, I think they could beat Clemson. I think they will beat A&M, so that helps. Well, that's not a conference game, so it doesn't matter.
Well, anyways, LSU, A&M, they're at the very bottom, dude. Nobody is going to make it past Bama and Georgia. And even if you do, you're
No,
not going to beat them in the SEC championship. That's not how it works.
I need to tighten up my knowledge on the SEC that was at the East and the West because I'm not sure who's on what. I know that A&M and Alabama are in the same one. I think LSU is also in there
Georgia
with
is in the East
Arkansas. Yeah, Georgia's over there with
because they
Florida.
play Bama every year in the SEC championship.
Right. So, well, what I'm saying is, if A&M, Arkansas, and Bama are in the same one, I don't even personally think A&M will be the second on their division, let alone the
It'd
whole
be
conference.
Arkansas,
Right. I think
in
Arkansas will
my
probably
opinion.
finish over them. Yeah. It kind of
Maybe
just
Ole Miss.
depends. It depends on who Arkansas draws from the other division. If they get an easier draw, I think they'll probably come away with more division wins.
Yeah.
But either way, second place don't matter because second place is just the first loser. So,
Yo.
uh, you got
I
anything
mean,
to add on that?
man, I would give Ole Miss better chances to beat LSU and A&M, like to make it to the playoff.
Maybe. I'm not gonna say what I think about Ole Miss and A&M because y'all need to go watch that video to figure out what I said. I don't
Okay,
want to give it all
but
away. That's good
I
stuff.
did want to give a shout out to my man Adam. He's the one that Christian mentioned earlier about Oregon. He's been kind of filling me in a little bit. That way, whenever we do our videos about our other colleges, we'll have a decent amount of knowledge. But Adam did say that he thinks that the line, like their offense and defensive line, are going to be the best team or best lines that Georgia plays this year.
But
Which,
I
yeah,
mean, the
and
trenches can change a game for sure.
yeah, and he also thinks that Utah and Oregon will have some of the best linebacker uh teams in the nation. I
Yeah.
haven't looked at the
Cool.
roster. I haven't looked at stats, nothing. I've talked to him a little bit. We talked about Spencer Webb. That's a really sad story that I'm going to get into
Yeah.
whenever I make that video.
He said that Oregon has a good linebacker core. Is that what he said?
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
with the loss of Kayvon Thibodeau.
yeah. He's
Really?
saying that he thinks that they will have one of the best linebacker cores in the nation, with you along with Utah.
Really? See, I was
Yep.
kind of sad to see Mario Cristobal leave Oregon. Oregon's always. I feel like Oregon's one of the like a super easy team for everybody to like just because their
Yeah.
jerseys are so clean. I will say I was kind of happy at the same time to see Mario Cristobal leave because Kelvin Banks, a highly recruited offensive lineman, had committed to Oregon Mario Cristobal dipped for Miami. Kelvin Banks flipped to Texas. So that kind of worked out for us. So sorry, Adam. Maybe we'll have you come on that for that video and you can fill us in on all the players and stuff. That's what we need to do. We need to have people who know more about these teams. This year is our first year picking these teams, so we have never really followed them before. So
Yeah.
as we learn, we'll be able to quote their names and coaches' names. Right now, we're just kind of in that beginning stage.
But yeah, I mean, I love having Adam, like being able to sit here and text me pretty much anytime that he sees anything about Oregon. I've got a
Yeah,
lot of information saved on my Snapchat from him. He's really gonna make it easier for me to make that podcast. Um, but yeah, if we get other people like that, I'd surely appreciate it. I'm sure you would.
yeah. Well,
Um,
I got a buddy who's an Aggie. I've got one that's a TCU fan. So when we get around to making those, I have a friend who's a Michigan fan. He maybe we'll like I said, we need to bring some people in. They know more about these teams than we do, and that could really
yeah,
help us out.
I need to talk to one of my buddies about the University of Miami, since that's the other
Yeah.
team I'll be making one on. But anyways, um, yeah, that's all that we have for this one. Unless you have anything else to add, then
Uh no, just we can close this out. Y'all let us know what y'all think about the list that they put. What you think about? We kind of gave our own. We didn't write down those lists, so it's kind of off the top of our heads. So let us know what y'all think about that and where you think your favorite team would be as well. Y'all please like, comment, subscribe. We're trying to get this thing rolling before the season starts. That way, these videos can really get pushed out and get y'all some better content. You can follow him at L Patterson _3. You can follow me at Christian
sure.
H _88. And you can follow our channel together at Lone Star _CFB.